Welcome back to segment 2 of show number 7 of HipMojo. In segment 1, we were talking about M&A deals, good ones and bad ones. And we said that the Myspace deal fell apart after News Corp bought it for 4 reasons. In your opinion, what was the number one reason or number one thing that led to its demise?
I'm no expert in these kind of things, but I'd say it was probably a huge disconnect of culture. News Corporation is a very large machine and has a very different focus in when it attacks, revenue strategies than a tech company does. So where they were just seeing ad dollars, they failed to see, how they should keep developing the technology and the platform itself, keep it sticky.
Yeah, you mentioned the most important word, I think, which is culture. I think culture usually is why deals fall apart, and if deals are successful, it's because you address the culture part, the whole people equation. I think with Myspace, I saw 4 reasons. Of course, Facebook came out of nowhere, Mark Zuckerberg, product focus. I think Facebook is probably number 1 through 5, let's say. But there's a few other reasons that come up. One is Rupert Murdoch got distracted in buying the Dow Jones for the great Wall Street Journal franchise. So I think Rupert Murdoch, if he would have stayed on it, even if he did not get the web or whatever, I think at least he would have sort of pulled on the right levers and ensured that people did not get distracted. The other reason is there's this expectation when you buy the myth of the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are great at starting a company, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be reined in or sort of watched over. And I'm saying this as an entrepreneur myself. When you buy a company like Myspace, the things that made Tom Anderson and Krista Wolf successful does not necessarily mean that they're going to be good at to take Myspace to the next level when they're now part of News Corporation. And last but not least, I think Google's free money, the $900 million that we alluded to in segment 1, both allowed them to say, oh, times are good, we're getting $45 million per month, guaranteed by Google before we even start the month, before we even turn on the lights to get to work. I think that makes you lazy. And 2, then the flip side is, oh my God, we have traffic targets to hit. So that came with a lot of pressure, like you said, to just keep churning on the revenue gas. Okay, but in general, you came across an interesting article.
I forget the author's name, networkgarden.blogs.com, Twitter handle at netgarden, I believe. Anyways, it was an article on 4 reasons why mergers and acquisitions tend to fail. And you know what's funny is I'm looking at this list, I'm looking at these 4 reasons, and this is the same reason, going back to my agency experience, is when agency and client relationships fail. And I don't think it's an M&A specific thing. I just think it's a business deal thing.
Relationship and business and integration.
So the first one this guy mentioned was pre-M&A versus post-M&A disconnects. They go into a situation during the negotiation process, everything's lined up, and they think they crossed all the I's and dotted all the T's, but they didn't. Not everything was clear. And then after the merger and acquisition, you have 2 camps, the acquirer and the conquered, completely disagreeing and not seeing eye to eye on a lot of very core aspects of their deal. Next down the list was pissing off 3 to 4 core stakeholders, right? And this happens is that what makes a company valuable, what makes it alluring to an investor is the way it's running and what it's doing. And usually there's a couple people that are key to that process. They kind of maintain the culture. When the disconnects start happening, some of these guys, they're big time stakeholders, they feel completely disconnected and they walk and you lose some of your best leadership. The third was failure to communicate and coordinate, and that's another just total project management thing. They agree on all these things, but they never really put a process in place to make sure that all these things get done to the satisfaction of the 2 agreeing parties. And then the fourth was the conqueror's mentality. Whoever buys it, they're feeling like they got a big swinging something between their legs, and they're not as respectful as they can be to what they acquired, the culture that they're trying to deal with, and that could in turn leads to you losing 3 or 4 core stakeholders, not to mention how many lackeys.
Yeah, I mean, I went through it when IGN bought AskMen, and then again when News Corp bought IGN. My problem really was very simple. When IGN bought us, I was let's say the second in command. I was the VP, rainmaker, dealmaker guy. I had a huge role, and then when the company got acquired, I sort of understood that, my role was going to change, and that was fine. The issue was we sort of negotiated with the CEO of IGN, who said, oh, Ash, these are things you could do, you should do. And then once they got sort of swallowed by News Corp, that guy doesn't care anymore. He himself is all right, everything I said is sort of out the door.
I made my money.
That's it. No, and he's in a tough spot now, right? Because now he has his own sort of deliverables and stuff. So then I was okay, I'm redundant here. I want to now get the entrepreneurial bug out of me, and I don't want to be an executive. I want to start my own thing, right? I think it's different when you're the entrepreneur. I think the irony, though, is I go back to this all the time. I'll have discussions with companies, and they're like, wow, WatchMojo, you guys get video, and it would be great if we acquire you, and Ash, you're the key man, and we want to make sure you don't leave. And I'm like, I get that, I understand, but I think that's actually the mistake to make. I think I'm probably almost the easiest one to lose in this company because it's the team that does things day to day, right? And I think I see that, but to the outsider, they don't get that. I think if you really want to discuss, though, in general, why M&A fails, I think it really boils down to two words: greed and ego. And it works in both ways.
That sounds a little cynical, though.
No, but I'll explain, because it applies to both buyer and seller. And I've been sort of on both sides of negotiation. I've helped companies, I've advised companies in buying entrepreneurs' companies, and I've been on the side where we've sold the company, right? Here's the problem. I think greed plays in the sense that oftentimes the guy selling just makes promises that are not realistic because there's always earnouts and things. So he sets himself up to fail. Greed, however, also works on the other side because the company signing the check wants to get as much as possible for your company and out of you, but then afterwards they tend to get greedy, and a lot of the promises you need to read the fine print or read between the lines, and you're like, what the hell? And you get to a point where you say, do I want to fight this? Do I want to litigate against the people? So I've seen a lot of bad experiences because people unfortunately don't keep their word. And then ego comes into it in that if you are buying the company, your ego, it's like the conqueror's mentality, right? Like, we bought you, what we say goes, which is the problem to a large extent, I think, at TechCrunch and AOL and HuffPo. However,
that's got to be hard, though, because at the same time, the conqueror's mentality is going to hit that much more resistance. At the end of the day, I sold my company, and maybe I still work there, but do you really want to work for someone else doing what you started out doing by yourself?
Okay, and that's how ego manifests itself with the selling party, because you have to let your ego go. I mean, you have to realize you sold your company just because your name even could be on the door, as they say, or whatever. Too bad. Now somebody else is in charge. You have to understand that change is going to come. So,
unfortunately, though, you can't really regulate human vice inside a merger and acquisitions contract.
No, you can't. And I think, but the bottom line is, now bringing it full circle before we take a break and do lightning round and email of the week, I think this is the problem with TechCrunch and AOL. It was basically an asset, a publication. Technology entrepreneurs are very driven. They are workaholics. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. These guys are, egomaniacs, whatever you want to call it. But media entrepreneurs have that other element of just craziness because they're used to grabbing headlines and they're used to catching people's attention and doing things almost for PR purposes. So I think when you had AOL, Tim Armstrong, a sales guy that wants to desperately reintroduce, revitalize, give new birth to AOL, he's going to say everything to convince both Arianna Huffington and Michael Arrington of, come work for me, with me, we're going to change the world, we're going to bring AOL back, and you get all the freedom and this and that. You could say that to one media entrepreneur, but you can't say it to both. And I think it was a matter of time before Arianna Huffington and Michael Arrington blew up. And the bottom line is that Tim Armstrong had basically hitched his wagon more to Arianna Huffington. At the end of the day, he basically said, Arianna Huffington is my content strategy. So when Arianna Huffington and Michael Arrington clashed, he had no choice but to push Michael Arrington off the ledge. It's just that simple. It's a shame because they're both very talented at media and content, but it was like, I'm surprised they even lasted this long. I don't know if you have anything else to chime in on this, and then...
No, I think what you said makes sense. And at the end of the day, Arianna Huffington, her portfolio included HuffPo, which was a much larger audience appeal, as opposed to TechCrunch, which was really niche. So even if it's the leader in what it does is only a small piece of the audience. Yeah, and AOL is big and needs scale, and HuffPo is just the one part of the puzzle that I think made more sense for them to try to preserve. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back, lightning round, lots to cover, and then email of the week.